Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I have yet another movie review for you all, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a crime film from Northern Ireland, English language, released in the year 2019, directed by Abner Pastel, and this film is called A Good Woman is Hard to Find. So A Good Woman is Hard to Find is set in the underbelly of Northern Ireland. You've got gangsters, drug dealers, people doing horrible things to each other, and the main character is a woman who is trying to get out of this world. Now she has two young children that she raises by herself because of the fact her husband was murdered. Now they say that her husband was a drug dealer, but she doesn't want to believe this. So this woman has an upper class family, but the upper class family have kind of shunned her because she chose to mingle with scumbags. But the person that she fell in love with she looked past the shortcomings of this guy and she saw it as true love, and so this is why she stayed in this world. So the husband's murder has never been solved, and this angers this main character because the police aren't even interested in finding the killer. So she believes that she's going to have to find the killer in order to get some closure. But that is basically, it means that she's going to have to delve into the underbelly and the world that her husband was part of in order to get what she wants, but that is not only putting herself in danger, but her family as well. So whether or not she can keep her family intact to get that closure and move on with her life is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I am going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on A Good Woman is Hard to Find. This is a film that really disappointed me. I had high expectations for it, and I will say that the first half of this movie was absolutely fantastic, but the reason why it was so disappointing is because it does fall into generic Hollywood storytelling, which is something I'll go into a little bit later, but there are quite impressive qualities about this film, and the most impressive quality is Sarah Bolger's performance as this main character. This main character is very likeable because she has a strong sympathetic quality, and this is a quality I thought was very realistic. And a lot of these films you kind of question yourself as to why these people have come about the way they are, and this is a film that shows love knows no boundaries. Is that there's an upper class that look down upon the lower class, but this is a woman that has fallen in love with a guy, and the circumstances surrounding this individual has consumed this woman to a point where she can't get out of this dark hole. So she's trying. You can see that she's a very good person, but because of the circumstances, I thought as though I could gravitate to her, I could sympathise for her, and I thought as though she didn't ask for this. She wanted to feel love. She wanted what everyone strives out for, to feel as though she belongs, and she had found that one person that was made for her, but unfortunately with that comes baggage, and that baggage was very, very evil. It was very dark, and the consumption of this darkness with the light in this film I thought was actually quite realistic and actually very, very nasty and brutal. And so that was something I really liked, is that there was attention to detail as far as creating something of a human being and human beings sort of circumstances that made it a film that had strong realism. It had that strong sense that I could be this person. I could, I know this kind of person. And so for that, the relatability is there. Therefore, her struggles are struggles that you can go along with and you can really sympathise for. And that is magnified because of the fact that Sarah Bolger just delivers such a great performance. And that performance is, she's a single mother, her children are very innocent, so there's a strong level of innocence within a very dark atmosphere, and that light and that atmosphere and the innocence is combating the darkness that is basically engulfing everybody. And so it's a vicious cycle that these drug dealers and these lowly rated people were facing. And so it's also a movie about class differences, about the upper class and how they look upon the lower class as though they're not even human. And so the mother in this film, I thought the relationship between the mother and this main character, I thought that was very interesting, is because this main character is trying to say she found the love of her life, but this woman didn't like this guy because of what he was doing. But ultimately, this is a man that was a victim of his circumstances, is that in the underbelly of Northern Ireland, in the poorer communities, the options are very limited. And so sometimes they have to go into drug dealing, which is not condoning what this guy was doing, but ultimately giving you a reason as to how everyone's situations came about. So it's not condoning it, but it's giving you a reason, is that when jobs are limited in this community, they seek money within very dodgy work. And so I thought, all right, well, that was also very interesting. So it's not condoning the evil doings of these people, but it's giving you the reason as to these situations and the situations and how they sculpture these people into basically the dregs of society. So I thought that was all very good. The cinematography was excellent, had a very ugly feel, a very nasty feel, and just the way that everyone treats each other I thought was actually quite sinister. But the relationship between the mother and her children, the main character and her children, I thought was very sweet. And so the sweetness is there, and the sweetness is trying to fight off all of the darkness that surrounds, and that's what gives you, as I said, that gravitation to characters that you can really sympathise for. So that was all very good. And I thought there were some nasty moments of violence which were very realistic in the first half of this film. And you've also got that side of mystery as to who killed her husband and whether or not she was actually going to find justice. And so it's never really promised in the first half of this movie, and so the first half I thought was absolutely fantastic. It created an absolutely fantastic platform, but unfortunately the second half really lets it down. And the reason why it lets it down is because it wants to go into a revenge style of film, like a Dirty Harry kind of film or a Charles Bronson Death Wish kind of film, where this woman is seeking justice, but she's gone from this innocent sort of person who's a victim of her circumstances to someone who's kind of like a I spit in your grave character, where you lose that sense of connection because all of a sudden she feels as though it's a completely different person. And so when she goes down this road of retribution, I thought to myself, this is generic Hollywood storytelling. And so it defeats the purpose of creating that sense of realism, that sense of connection to a person that you could really root for, because in the second half, all of a sudden she's doing things that I had my eyes rolling, is because I've seen this done in Hollywood action films or Hollywood revenge films, in that your victim turns into aggressor, and that didn't really work is because I felt as though it was a different person. I felt as though it just changed very quickly. It's very difficult to take someone's life, but in this film the change seemed a little bit rushed and it didn't seem natural. And so because it didn't seem natural, the second half of this film felt like a film, whereas the first half of the movie felt like a documentation of people who had a lot of hardship in their life, and so that really didn't go well together. I thought the tonal differences were too out of whack to really create a fluent piece. And so the second half of the movie really lets it down. I thought the villains in this film were very caricature. I thought the main villain especially, I thought was laughable. He wasn't really that intimidating, and I thought the last quarter of the film especially was very much rushed. And so I don't share the opinion that this is a great crime film. If you are a fan of, you know, typical British crime films, then you're going to be really excited by the first half of this movie, but the way it finishes, I just thought was a massive letdown. By the end of it, as I said, I had my eyes rolling. I knew exactly how it was going to finish. It goes down in a way where I felt as though it had a great build-up and a great platform, but it didn't know where to go after that. It didn't know how to capitalise and really reward the audience for sticking through the captivating qualities that this film had. So that was disappointing in that way. I thought the script is okay in the first half, you know, moulding these very interesting characters, but then it goes down a generic sort of Hollywood revenge type of film that just, it steers away from the realism, which makes the film very disjointed in the tones. And so for that, I was disappointed. It could have been a great film. A lot of people say it is a great film, so you might get more of it out of it than I did, but I just thought as though the second half really lets it down. Therefore, I'm only going to give A Good Woman Is Hard to Find 2.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, keep watching movies and I'll see you later.